Hi, my name is Rodrigo. This is Ether, where we try to teach and elevate the Bible using digital media. And today we're continuing our series in the book of Mark. We are in Mark 11, verses 27 through 12:44. And in this passage, the Sanhedrin comes to Jesus with a series of questions to try to test him. And one by one, Jesus schools them all. As it is often the case in the book of Mark, though, there is also an interaction with another person that teaches us about the kind of people that Jesus wants to follow him, and also really makes us examine our faith. The Sanhedrin was a religious ruling council of Israel, and it was made up of the Pharisees, the Sadducees, and the scribes. And these were men who were not easily defeated in matters of the law. From childhood, they had dedicated their lives to the study, preservation, and teaching of the law, and yet Jesus makes them out to be really immoral people. In Mark 1, verses 1 through 12, he shares a parable in which he basically condemns them because they're going to kill the Son of God. And at the end of chapter 12, this is what he says about the scribes. And in his teaching, he said, "Beware of the scribes who like to walk around in long robes and like greetings in the marketplaces and have the best seats in the synagogue and the places of honor at feasts, who devour widows' houses and for a pretense make long prayers. They will receive the greater condemnation." After all of his confrontations with the Sanhedrin, Jesus observes a poor widow put 2 copper coins in the offering box, and this is what he says about her. "Truly I say to you, this poor widow has put in more than all those who are contributing to the offering box, for they all contributed out of their abundance, but she out of her poverty has put in everything she had, all she had to live on." The men of the Sanhedrin were influential, educated, powerful, and very often wealthy, and yet they were morally bankrupt. This widow had very, very little, and the little that she has, she gives to God, and for this, Jesus commends her. This scripture really ought to make us examine our faith. Many of us find moral comfort in belonging to a church, knowing a good amount of scripture. Sometimes we're even well-respected and admired members of our community. But the scripture really ought to make us ask ourselves if we're just religious, or are we giving everything to Jesus? The members of the Sanhedrin were the epitome of religiosity. They knew their scripture. They were respected members of a community, and yet their hearts were very far away from Jesus. In pointing out this widow, Jesus shows us an example of the kind of person that he wants to follow him. People who are not merely religious, but people who, like the widow, are willing to give everything to God.